Let's get right into it. Number 1. The Proud Ignorance Parade. Some people treat not knowing things like it's a trophy they earned. They'll announce with a grin that they've never read a book since high school. They'll laugh about not understanding basic concepts. They'll say things like, "I don't do math," or "research isn't my thing," as if intellectual laziness is some kind of personality quirk worth celebrating. Here's what's actually happening in the brain. Not knowing feels safer than trying and failing. If you never attempt to learn something, you can never be exposed as bad at it. It's a psychological defense mechanism dressed up as confidence. The mind builds this comfortable little bubble where ignorance isn't a limitation, it's supposedly a choice. But underneath all that bravado, pure insecurity. The louder someone brags about what they don't know, the more terrified they are of being seen as incompetent. It's like shouting, "I can't swim," while standing at the edge of a pool, hoping nobody notices you're actually just afraid of the water. The parade marches on, but the foundation is shaky. Number 2. Cognitive Distortion Factory. This is where the brain becomes an unreliable narrator of your own life. Everything gets filtered through a broken lens. You make one small mistake at work, and suddenly your brain whispers, "You're going to get fired. Everyone thinks you're incompetent. Your career is over." A friend doesn't text back immediately? Clearly, they hate you now. Psychologists call these thinking errors. The brain takes neutral information and twists it into extremes. It's called catastrophizing when minor problems become apocalyptic disasters. It's called mind reading when you assume you know what others are thinking, usually something negative. And there's filtering, where your mind highlights every criticism while deleting every compliment. The dangerous part? Your brain does this automatically. It's not a conscious decision. It's like having an overactive editor constantly rewriting reality to match your worst assumptions. A person living in the cognitive distortion factory isn't seeing the world as it is. They're watching a badly edited horror film starring themselves, and they think it's a documentary. Number 3. Loud logic syndrome. You know that person who thinks winning an argument means being the loudest person in the room? That's loud logic syndrome in action. No facts, no evidence, no coherent reasoning, just volume cranked to maximum and confidence that would make a game show host jealous. Here's the psychology. When someone realizes they're losing an argument but refuses to admit it, the brain hits panic mode. Instead of pausing to learn or acknowledge a gap in knowledge, it compensates with enthusiasm. The amygdala, your brain's emotion center, fires off a signal. We're losing credibility here. And instead of responding with better reasoning, the mind just turns up the dial. The bizarre part? It actually works for them, at least internally. The louder they get, the more their own brain interprets that volume as correctness. It's a feedback loop. Weak argument, raised voice, false sense of victory, even weaker argument. They'll be red-faced, practically vibrating with intensity, and somehow still believe they're the calm, logical one in the conversation. It's not debate. It's a human car alarm pretending to have a point. Number 4. The "I already know" deflector. Try explaining something useful to certain people and watch how fast they interrupt with, "Yeah, I know," even when they clearly, obviously don't. This is the brain's emergency eject button for uncomfortable truths. The psychology is simple but sad. Learning something new requires admitting you didn't know it before. For some people, that admission feels like weakness, like they've somehow failed by not already being an expert on everything. So the brain deploys this automatic shield. Interrupt, dismiss, pretend familiarity, anything to avoid the microscopic ego bruise of being taught something. The irony is brutal. This habit guarantees they stay stuck. Every piece of potentially useful information bounces off that deflector shield. They're basically standing in the rain holding an umbrella over their head, complaining they never get clean. It's self-sabotage disguised as self-protection. Number 5. The advice vacuum. These people ask for advice like it's their hobby. They'll consult friends, family, coworkers, internet strangers, self-help videos, anyone willing to offer an opinion. They collect guidance the way some people collect stamps. And then, they ignore absolutely all of it. Here's why. Asking for advice triggers a tiny dopamine hit. It feels responsible. It feels like progress. The brain gets to enjoy the sensation of working on the problem without actually doing the hard part, which is change. Following advice requires humility, discipline, and admitting your current approach isn't working. That's psychologically expensive. So instead, the mind goes opinion shopping. It collects perspectives until it finds one that justifies the questionable decision it wanted to make all along. It's confirmation bias with extra steps. Then, when everything predictably falls apart, they sigh and say, "Nothing ever works out for me." Right, because you treated expert guidance like elevator music, technically present, completely ignored. Number 6, fake expertise syndrome. Some brains hear one fact and throw themselves a graduation ceremony. They'll watch 15 minutes of a documentary and suddenly feel qualified to lecture everyone. They'll read one article and start diagnosing medical conditions. They'll skim a headline and debate economics. This happens because the brain confuses familiarity with competence. When you learn just enough to recognize terminology without understanding concepts, your mind celebrates like you've cracked the code of the universe. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect in real time. People at the bottom of the knowledge curve have the highest confidence because they don't know enough to recognize what they're missing. Fake expertise feels good. It makes complex topics seem simple and manageable, but it's also how you get confident nonsense. It's someone explaining quantum physics using vibes and a hunch. Confidence built on cardboard, impressive until tested. Number 7, drama magnet mode. Some people can't function without chaos. Every conversation becomes a conflict. Every silence feels suspicious. Every calm day must be hiding disaster. Their brain refuses to operate unless drama is playing in the background. Psychologically, some minds get addicted to emotional intensity. Peace feels boring. Stability feels fake. So the brain manufactures problems, misinterpreting texts, inventing rivalries, assuming worst-case scenarios. Drama provides a sense of importance. If everything is urgent and intense, then you must be the main character. It's a self-feeding cycle. Expect drama, perceive drama, create drama, expect more drama. Eventually, their entire personality becomes background noise to everyone else, a constant false alarm that people learn to ignore. Number 8, ironic rebound thinking. Tell yourself not to think about something, and suddenly it's all you can think about. Try not to picture a pink elephant. Too late? There it is. This is ironic rebound, where attempted thought suppression backfires spectacularly. The brain monitors itself to ensure it's not thinking the forbidden thought. But that monitoring process requires thinking about the thought you're trying to avoid. It's like hiring a guard to make sure you don't look at something, but the guard has to keep checking to make sure you're not looking. Self-control becomes self-sabotage. This is why trying to force yourself not to worry makes worry worse. Why telling yourself not to be nervous amplifies nerves. The harder you push a thought away, the stronger it bounces back. The mind isn't good at negatives. It just hears the subject, not the don't. That's it for today. These habits aren't about intelligence. They're about what the brain does when it's protecting itself poorly. Subscribe for more.